now. Okay, so the object will go over the procedures for doing remote exams, the reason for remote exams, and then I'm actually going to demo the procedures for doing an exam live, so everyone can see the steps I'm talking about and describing now. So doing a remote exam is to mimic an in-person exam as much as possible, including all of the paperwork, the post-exam processing, everything. Remote exam testing was not designed to replace in-person testing, but to augment it. So in other words, you can do in-person testing, and you can also have remote testing if your team so desires. There's a greater geographical ability to be able to test. For example, someone doesn't have to travel 75 miles to your exam to be able to take a test. If your team desires, you can do a remote exam. It works with all 14 of the VECs, which are the volunteer exam coordinators, the big people that want to use it. Right now, 4 of them are doing remote exams of the 14. The software that they have is designed to be used with in-person exams using bubble answer sheets that can be scanned and graded with a computer video camera if you so desire. So the software is flexible. It can be used both for in-person exams and remote exams. And it makes exams a whole lot easier, okay? So why is this important to anybody, okay? As far as the ARRL, they currently use 4 standard tests per question pool. For all 4 years of the pool, it's valid. If the questions were not repeated, that would use 140 of the tech or general questions and 200 of the extra questions in the exam pool. There are 424 questions in the tech pool, 454 in the general pool, and 713 in the extra pool. That shows that not all the questions are used on the ARRL paper exams. It makes it a lot easier to exam cram and pass an exam if you only have to study around 1/3 of the exam pool. Okay? The exam tool, to quote its creator, Richard Bateman, is each exam is generated using deterministic pseudo-random number generators, which given the exam test ID as the seed, but that test ID is generated using a cryptographically secure random number generator for each exam created. That seed is used with a standard pseudo-random number generator to choose one question from each section in the pool, and then it is also used to decide what order to insert it into the exam. Thus, the randomness is not just what questions you see, but also what order they appear in. While they haven't enabled this yet, we could also take a further step and have it decide what order the answers for each question are. Thus, while the exam you get for each test is deterministic, there are 990,000 possible exams for each exam pool, which can be selected. And that's just because Richard arbitrarily decided to use a random number between 10K and 1 million just for the test ID. In other words, you're not going to get the same exam if you fail and you want to take another exam. So it's almost impossible to determine the exam answers ahead of time and cheat. With the ARRL, with only the 4 questions, when you do an exam cram class on the weekend, they don't have to go over the exam pool because they pretty well know which questions are going to be on the paper test. So doing it online is a whole lot more random and a whole lot more secure as far as I'm concerned. Okay. The software uses the entire question pool to generate a unique exam. ARRL also has software fairly similar to that called Exam Maker software, but I've used it a little bit and it requires hand-generated answer sheets, okay? Something to really think about. And a quick reminder of what is tested in each pool, then I'll go over pre-test procedures. There are 3 license levels, each with its own exam pool. The test for technician in general are 35 questions, and the extra is a 50-question exam. The tech pool currently has 424 questions divided into 10 sub-elements, T1 to T0. Each sub-element is divided into groups, mostly 1 question from each group. The general pool currently has 404 questions divided into 10 sub-elements, G1 to G0. Each sub-element is divided into groups again mostly for each of the 10 groups. The extra exam pool has 713 questions divided into 10 sub-elements again, and E1 to E0. Each sub-element is divided into groups from each of the 10 groups. The current extra pool, when I wrote this, the extra pool expired June 30th, and we're currently using a brand new extra question pool. When constructing an exam, you're restricted to where to pull your questions from. Prior to a test session, the VE team should get together and decide what to offer exams and how many to offer. I suggest 30 minutes for tech and general exams and 45 minutes for extra. And I would also recommend limiting the exams to 6 per session until the VE teams are very comfortable with doing remote exams. One of the VEs, the GLAR VE from Greater Los Angeles, is doing 100 people per test session. They have 40 VEs per session approximately. They have 3 rooms. They give one room for tech, 1 room for general, 1 room for extra. Sometimes they do 2 rooms for each exam, and they're able to finish their exam session in a couple of hours. But they're very comfortable with the software, and they've been practicing a lot for that. A whole lot more than 6, but when you start out, I would recommend only doing 6, okay? The VE team lead will log on to hamstudy.org and create the test session, and I'll show you that, and assign VEs to the session. 3 VEs per session. And the exam name will be given to the registrants to use when registering and logging into the exam. Again, I will demo that. So the pre-test procedures. The test taker, we recommend, has to be a little bit computer savvy or savvy enough to be able to use it online. The computer needs a working video camera hooked to it, along with a video-capable cell phone if possible. They have to certify that they meet all of the requirements for remote testing and agree to the procedures. The registration makes exam admin a lot faster for pre-registration. You can take what you want to, but it's a lot slower when you have to do that. The candidates need to create an account with the FCC Universal Licensing System and generate an FRN number. The FCC no longer accepts Social Security numbers. Everybody should have an FRN number before they take their exams. Even upgrade exams, they can use they will have an FRN number if they already have a tech license. So they need to use their FRN number. The remote session will not work if you don't have an FRN. There is a place, if you don't have an FRN, to have the exam tool software get an FRN from you live from the FCC. But that, again, it slows down the exam procedure if you have multiple people waiting. And also, before the exam for the ARRL, it's a $15 fee. You have to pay that before you take the exam, and the lead VE authorizes you to take the exam. The method is up to the VE coordinator. You can use Zelle, PayPal, a credit card, a check, etc. Although nowadays, physically getting a hold of a check or credit card and exchanging it hand to hand is a little bit against the government guidelines of sanitation. So that's why it's easier when you're doing it remotely too, because then you're not exposed to anything. You can take money by PayPal, by Zelle, or you can get if you can set up, you can do it with various ways to get credit card payments. When the candidate needs to use Chrome as the browser, otherwise it might not work. The exam is optimized to use Chrome. And have an account on Zoom also, because the exams are conducted via Zoom, as we will show tonight. The candidate also needs a readable picture ID to show their VEs. If you're taking an upgrade exam, the lead VE needs the candidate's FRN to download a reference copy of their license, so you can submit that as part of the test paperwork, just like you would do if you were in a live session. The candidate creates an account on hamstudy.org, finds the exam, fills out the registration form, and gets a candidate PIN for the exam session. This will show in the software. Let me see if I can make that smaller. The team lead creates a Zoom session, and we'll show that, for the time the exam session is to be held. The VE team members log on to exam tools with their own accounts and click the button Assist with Exam, and I'll show you that. The VE lead will start screen recording at this point because you have to record the exam in progress, just to cover yourself in case anything happens during the exam.
Can you fix that screen, it's unreadable.
You can't read that at all now?
No, it's you cut off sides of it, so it's parts of the words.
Okay, let me stop it and reopen it.
Thank you.
And I think I was in this one. No, I was in the other one. That's better. Can you see that now?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Good, Barry.
Okay. I have the wrong one open again. Stop here and reopen it. No, it's the wrong one again. Let's for tonight. It's gotta be this one. Why can't I make it smaller? View, format, smaller. I'll get this. Okay, there we go. How do I get rid of this? There we go. Okay.
Now you're overriding again.
Yep. Well, I'll read it anyway, so I'm almost done with this one. The other one will come out okay. Okay, so after you get the screen recording started, the VE team leader changes the exam status to in for the specific candidate. The candidate will log into the examtools.org and click Take an Exam. The lead VE has to put in his call sign, his PIN to start the exam. The candidate clicks Join Session, and then the test can begin. If you use waiting rooms, you can use the Zoom waiting room to admit the first applicant and go through the pre-exam procedures. And remember to turn off screen recording when they show their candidate's ID, and then turn screen recording back on. The PIN can pin the candidate's screen to the front so they don't have the candidate log in with your cell phone. You will have to take a survey of the room using the same credentials as before, and then you come into the session and get ready to take the exam. You have to examine the room first to be sure that they don't have any extraneous papers or anything, or any cheating material, or any other monitors or any other computers on before they take the exam, okay? They move the webcam around the testing area, like I said, to look around the room. Clear desk, no clutter or documents, only one monitor. If there's multiple monitors, you have to verify if they turned off and ask them to unplug. Verify by asking the examinee to open up the display properties on the monitor and the display preferences. On Linux, due to the lack of standardization in the OS, the examinee must be able to prove to the satisfaction of the VEs that their system is configured correctly. If the VEs are unable to determine that a single monitor and a virtual desktop are in use, the examinee may be asked to use a different system or to provide a secondary viewing device to show the exam area again. A clean blank sheet of paper, a calculator if applicable, and a calculator without the operating system is recommended, but it has to be opened and shown that memories are cleared out before the exam begins. Displaying the calculator in the Exam Tools browser window to be side by side as advised. Advanced calculators, again, must be cleared. A clear and in-focus webcam video with minimal artifacting due to portable connections has to be there, okay? You have to ensure the examinee removes and unplugs any headsets or headphones, because people can cheat if they're using a headset or a headphone. They could have someone in the other room that's spying on them with another camera, and they could relay to them answers. So no headphones or headsets are allowed, okay? You have to turn off any extra cell phones and other electronic devices and place them out of the room or out of reach. Some VE teams may opt to allow a cell phone or tablet to be used as a secondary camera to be used to observe the examinee. Similarly, remove spot watches or any other wireless communications or electronic devices. They want to look at the start bar, menu bar, and check that the dock are visible. And they have closed all programs except for the video conferencing browser, with all browser windows and tabs closed, except for the sole window or tab of the examtools.org. You have to monitor the examinee, look for any sign of testing while they're taking the test, or any inconsistencies that you observe for cheating, and respond to any questions, concerns, as if it were a regular in-person exam. At any point during the exam, you can ask the examinee to move their camera to re-inspect the exam location, but do it only when needed to avoid interrupting the exam procedure. If you see something amiss, immediately invalidate the examinee's exam. If the examinee shows significant signs of deception and/or infidelity, for example, if the examinee leaves the exam area, the exam video connection drops out for more than 3 seconds, or the examinee disconnects from the video conference, you should immediately. The examinee can always it wasn't their fault. Area. Click Start, and the exam level will show on the thing. Authorize the exam VE and watch the candidate take the exam. While this is done, the candidate has answered all the questions, satisfaction, ask them if they're satisfied with it, and then you click the button, Grade Exam. The VE will authorize one more time. You can see that when I do it. The VE administrator will need to authorize the exam to be graded, which will show the results immediately to the examinee. If they pass, you congratulate them and ask them if they want to continue taking tests. Again, you would authorize to watch the candidate take the next exam, which is done, and the candidate has answered all the questions, click Grade Exam, and you continue on. When you're done, you click Finish, sign the form button, and in the Are You Sure window, click Finish and Sign. And again, you'll see this in just a minute. If you want to review the 605 and the CSCE, on the bottom, have the candidate sign in the signature box, click Finish Session after they've reviewed it if they want to. The candidate can now log out of the exam tools and end this session. The VEs now should see a green circle with a 0 in the current session window of the test taker. This is where the VEs sign the form. They do it electronically, and the lead VE can click on the button and initiate the signing procedure. Be sure each VE enters their exam tools password before signing, otherwise than that it won't take it. And each VE will have an exam tools account, and they should all know their password. After all 3 VEs have signed, on the bottom of the right, the candidates window, click Print Forms to save the forms as PDFs to send to the VEC. Also click Download EBF. The EBF is the electronic form that when you send to the VEC, they don't even bother to open it. They just sent that right on over to the FCC, so you get your license or your upgrade faster. The 2 times that I've done this, they've gotten their new license or exams within 48 hours. So it's a whole lot faster than it used to be. When the session is done, go back to Manage Sessions window and click on the completed session and change the status to complete. The lead VE can then log out with exam tools. The VE team is done, and they can chit chat and then log out of Zoom. Now, to show what all that means, I'm just gonna go through this one more time. Open up the share screen again. Is this where I was? No, it's the wrong one again. I should have named them differently. My fault. Okay, prior to the exam start, again, people are pre-registering. You want to be sure that the 605 and CSCE, right now we use, the exam tools now has electronic signatures built in, so you don't need to worry about doing Adobe Sign. And be sure all of the forms are pre-filled out before the candidate takes the test. If the candidate is under 13 years old, be sure they fill out a COPA, C-O-P-A form. That's required by law. And I believe a parent also has to sign it for them. But the COPA form is very important. And this is what you normally would send to the candidate. The VE teams use Zoom to facilitate the remote monitoring exam in your testing environment. You will need a computer with a webcam, Zoom, Google Chrome, a smartphone also logged into Zoom, and a clean place to take the exams online. Believe it or not, the most interesting place that I've seen people take their exams is in their bathroom. It's usually a clean environment, and there's not a lot of distracting amateur radio stuff around them. So it's actually, and you can close the door and keep out distractions. So that's an interesting place for people to take their exams, okay? You'll get an email from the session lead volunteer examiner to arrange to pay for it. And you have a Mac starting Zoom. Please go into System Preferences, Security and Privacy, the Privacy tab, choose Screen Recording from the list on the left, and click on the lock button, put in your password, and in the list of apps on the right, be sure there is a check next to Zoom US. Once this is done, you can close the window. That makes using Zoom a lot easier. Only one computer display will be allowed, and extra video screens will have to be disconnected. Okay? For the VEs, when a candidate logs into Zoom, pin the video to the screen, etc. You have to ask permission for the VE team to remotely control your screen. The VEs will have you connect to examtools.org, and then everything will be done while the exam team has remote control of your screen for the candidate. Okay, there's a few checkboxes and stuff to do. And when you're finished, you can ask the VE team to grade the exam, or the VE controlling the screen will ask if you're satisfied, and then they will grade the test. You have to use your legal name on the 605. If the login on the exam tools is not the legal name, they should sign in with their legal name because it must be the application. After the VEs electronically sign your paperwork, it will be emailed to you to right now you sign it before you had to do it electronically, but now you sign it after you're done. So and then the VEs will email it to you when all of the paperwork is done. Okay? The paperwork will be sent to the ARRL VEC, and they will send it on to the FCC. Your new license and call sign should appear in the FCC database within a week or so. It's been, like I said, 2 or 3 days. For upgrades, you can begin to use your new privileges immediately. For general, you use /AG after your call sign, and for general, it's /AE. Okay? And I was questioning them if we need a GDPR statement, because some of the exams we give are from military stations in Europe. And yes, we do need to get a GDPR statement if you're going to be giving exams in Europe. Many candidates will have password managers enabled, so you'll need to make sure to click "Do not have the session password" on the remotely controlled computer. And you can change the exam password in the middle of an exam in case you think that the exam of the password has been compromised. Okay, so that's all of the procedures that I need to do. So stop it and go back. Now let me go back to here and see where I am. Okay, so here's HamStudy, hamstudy.org. This particular site is a sandbox environment. We're not on the live hamstudy.org. But when you set up a VE, the VE will set up a session for you. So you would look for a session. Here are the sessions listed today. I set up one before. We're going to use Zoom Demo 2. And this is what you see. It's an ARRL exam. It's a demo session. And we could have as many people as you want. So you would give the candidate a chance to register. The candidate would find your session, and then they will register. And you say that you will be testing for a new license or an upgrade license. We're going to test for a new license. And if you're not 13 years or older, you have to register for the parent and guardian doing the COPA form, like I mentioned. So I'm going to be testing for a new license. And let's go with Hiram P. Maxim. Newington, okay. Sometimes it will validate it and sometimes it won't. It's going to ask me to validate it. I'm going to try to validate it and it won't, but I will continue without the invalidated address for now. But normally it would. Then it's going to ask you, like it asks on all of the 605s, if convicted of a felony by any state or federal court. I'm going to say no. Go on. Everybody has to have an FRN, so you say yes. Enter an FRN. And like I said, if you forgot your FRN, you can look it up. And if you don't have an FRN, you can have them go to the FCC site and get you an FRN. So this is what we have. So now Hiram is registered for the exam. You put finalize registration, and then it generates the PIN. His PIN is 7682. So I'm going to copy that. So it has it in my clipboard. That's important for when you go to the next step. Now, as from a VE, you go into examtools.org instead of hamstudy.org. You have a choice of take an exam or an assist with an exam. The VEs will sign in and assist with an exam. I'm going to log into here. Log in. Now I'm logged in as a VE. It should come up with the session. Okay. I can go in and see my session. And here is Hiram Maxim, and here is his. So now we want to copy this URL, 7682. He will now log into Exam Tools. The session name is KB1PA. You can name the exam whatever you want to, and the PIN goes in there. It was 7682. And join the session. Put in the wrong PIN. Okay, 7682. Join the session. I think what I need to do is go into here, into the session, manage sessions, and open that up and make the exam in progress. That's why you couldn't do it. So you have to be sure that you make your exam in progress. So now we should be able to go in and join the session. And then you have to authorize, like I said. Authorize. Now he can start the technician exam. But I want to be sure before we do this that I have set up the session. And you have to be sure you have 3 volunteer examiners assigned to the candidate. And I do have 3 volunteers assigned and 1 applicant. So he can now go ahead and start his technician's exam. And again, you have to, as the lead VE has to authorize that he's ready to take the exam. The guy is ready to take, or girl is ready to take the exam. Authorize. And then now he can start the exam. I'm going to go through the exam real quick. Again, if you skip questions, you'll get them at the end. So if this person is taking the test, they don't have to answer them in order. They can skip questions, and then at the end, they'll have a chance to go back to the ones. Again, it's almost impossible to get the same exam twice with the exam software, the way he has it set up. And of course, normally it would take a lot longer than this, but I missed a couple, so it's asking me to go back and re-answer them.
Barry, this is Eric Berman, KC3GDB. Just a quick question. When they're going in, logging into the exam tools, that's all done with Zoom, right? And then you're just switching.
Yes.
Who has access to, which is has access to the screen, right? So they can see everything?
You share your screen so they can see everything. And then when you're done, you click Grade Exam. And then you have to authorize again.
Please hold your questions till after the presentation.
My keyboard is tired. And he got 35 out of 35. Then you can start the general exam. Again, you authorize. And I'm going to go to general with this one. This will be the last exam he takes. Okay, it's done. Leave. One more. Okay. Grade the exam. Authorize. Pass. Then you say finish and sign forms. And they ask you, once you go past this, you can't take any more exams during this exam session. You say finish and sign. You can do a quick review of the CSC or the 605, or you can just go ahead and sign here. I'm just going to go ahead and sign. Sign the document. Once you verify everything, you cannot go back. You say finish session. And they tell the examinee, congratulations on your new general license. Your exam session is complete, and you can now log off. So you can log off. Okay. Then I'm going to go back to here, which is the VE portal. And you can see that there are managed signatures here. You click on that. And I can sign the exam right here, put in my password. I always forget to put my password in here, but so now I've signed, and I want to be sure that I need to add VEs to this applicant because I didn't assign 3 of them. So I need to go into here and assign VEs. This one and then this one. Now there are 3 VEs, and it says 3 up here. So now we can go ahead and sign again. One signature. Sign. 3. Sign. Now all 3 VEs have signed the paperwork. Back to here. And we can look at the forms. And if you wanted to from here, you could print the forms, but this is an ARRL CSCE, and it's all properly filled out, and all the boxes are checked and lined out like you're supposed to. The candidate has signed it, the 3 VEs have signed it, and here is the 605. And he's successfully got a new license, was not convicted of anything. He signed the 605. It's for general, when and where, and the 3 VEs have signed it. And here are his exam results. And normally the ARRL doesn't want to give the candidate's exam results, but you're supposed to send this in to the VEC so they have the result. And when I mentioned that before, when I talked about the T, this is the technician's exam, and this is the full question and what the correct answer was. And if it was a wrong answer, it would be in red, but he got 35 out of 35 in this. And it says when the exam was started and when it was stopped, and what test number it was, what element it was, and then he passed. And this is the general, same thing. And this is what gets sent in to, these are sent to the candidates. So that is this one. Close that. And I closed the wrong one. Edit. I'll have to log back in. File. And, file. Sorry about this. There we go. Sometimes it drops off. So we can go into here and into here. And he's done. We can mark it as complete. And I would have to enter my password again to mark it as complete. And you can now print the session forms. You can look at all of the forms. And again, it's the same thing like we saw before. This time it generates an exam manifest for the test session. If there's more than one, obviously, it would have, and he passed 2 elements, and who the applicants were, and who the volunteer examiners were. This can all get sent to the VEC. And here is the CSCE, and here is the 605, and the 2 pages of the answer sheet. So you can print that all out, or you can email it now and send it into the VEC. And then once everything is ready and the VEs are all ready to finalize session, be sure you review all the forms, put in your password one more time, and mark it as complete. And everything is done, and you can go home. And that's basically everything that you want to do with an exam in quick order, of course, but I can now start my session if I can figure out where it all is. There's that. Okay, let's see. How do I do this? Close. Close, close, close. Okay. So that's everything, Dan. I'm ready for
Okay.
questions.
Okay, one moment. I'm going to do a quick share screen myself. One moment.
Okay.
Okay. What you should be seeing here is not all this stuff. Sorry about that, folks. At any rate, I should have told you this at the beginning of the session here. At the bottom, when you do, at the bottom screen, you see your managed participants. Down below at your long list, you'll see raise your hand or raise hand. If that's not there, you might find this guy right here, and you'll find it in that. What we'd like to have you do is raise your hand and ask questions, or put the questions into the chat box if you would. And that just prevents doubling and tripling and all that stuff. Okay, Barry, take it away.
Hey, I'm willing. Someone's going to find me the questions. I'm willing to answer questions. It's really, really secure. And like I said, they're doing it all over the country. A lot of the exam teams and a lot of the clubs that do the in-person tests are a little bit worried about this because they're afraid they're going to be losing the personal connection they get with the people taking the exam. However, we can get, by zip code, new hands. For example, if someone down in Florida takes an exam with GLARD, which they're free to do, I can find out that they've recently gotten a license for someone in Southern Florida, and I can give that information to the local club. The local club can then contact the individuals and establish the personal connection they used to have. Some clubs give free one-year membership to new hams. They can still do that once they find out who the new hams are. So it's designed so you don't lose that personal connection with your local new hams and with your upgraded hams. And all the teams have to do is ask their local section managers or their assistant section managers who can get that information to them. So and like I said, I've been to some exam sessions in person where people have traveled 150 miles just to take an exam at this one exam session. And they don't have to do that anymore. They can take it from the relative comfort of a secure place in their own homes. And as long as you know how to use your computer, I think it opens up the way to do exams a lot easier. And if someone that has a disability, they can take the combination remotely a lot easier than doing it in person. So it's fairly easy to do. Okay, so I see one person with a question. Eric, go ahead, please. KC3 GDV from Maryland, DC. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Barry. Appreciate a great presentation. And just wanted to say, how would you set up the rights within Zoom? Because of, it's like you have to kind of go back and forth between the for the VE and the person taking the test.
You can have more than one window open. Like I said, I had 3 tabs open, so I could go in between the 3 tabs. The candidate will only see the one exam. The VE will usually have 2 tabs open, one for the VE administrating and one to monitor the candidate. So that's how you set it up.
Okay, and then just want to verify that the candidate would actually get a list of all the questions. He gets the list of all the questions at the end also?
Some VE teams do that. The ARRL discourages sending that to the candidate, but you can do it if you want to. But okay. The ARRL discourages it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your presentation.
No problem at all. Anyone else?
Barry, there's some questions in chat. The one here where it says, is this done by Zoom? I think the question is, I'm going to reword that. Is Zoom the only way you can use this can you use Skype or any other form?
If the VE team is comfortable with Skype, yes. But most of the VE teams that do remote exams are comfortable with Zoom. And it's been tested on Zoom, and I know it works on Zoom. Especially the screen sharing. That's the most important thing. Because you want to be able to have the candidate share his screen so the VE team can actually physically watch what he's doing. on the screen, moving his mouse, etc. And you can't, I'm not sure you can do that with some of the other remote pieces of software, but I do know that it works on Zoom. But if, like I said, if the candidate's comfortable and the VEs are comfortable, it doesn't matter what you're doing, how it's done, as long as it's done. But 99% of it is done on Zoom.
Okay. Henry says, when do all the 3 VEs get involved in reviewing the candidate's test?
Right after the candidate takes the test. So they all have to be on the test, on the exam, and logged in before the candidate can even start the test. And once they're all assigned and logged on, and then they review the paperwork after you saw the screen where the candidate signed out after he signed the forms, that's when the 3 VEs go ahead and review the forms and sign them if they're happy with it.
Okay.
What they do in a normal in-person test. You know, the 3 VEs all look over the test after the person takes the test and they sign off on it. And it's the exact same procedure, except it's all done remotely. The 3 VEs don't all have to be in the same room. They can be all over the country and do an exam. I was in Florida, there was someone in Maine, and there was someone in Alaska. The 3 of us did an exam. So just the 3 VEs don't have to be physically present in the same place.
Cool. Okay, next question is, how does the examinee pay?
You can do it however, you can do it by Zelle, you can do it by PayPal, you can do it any way electronically. If you can take an EFT fund transfer, you can do that. And then again, same thing like you would do in a regular exam session. You collect all of the fees and you send the fees up to Maria up at the ARRL for an ARRL exam, or to any of the other VECs who would take the money. Laurel doesn't charge, so you don't have to worry about the money. That's one of the things that with this FCC fee structure that's being debated and coming out and everything, there might be an effort for someone to trying to possibly make the ARRL exam fees go down. Because right now it's $15 per test. And if you want to retest, you have to pay another $15. Or if you want to, if you fail. But yeah, it's same thing, it's $15 and you collect all the money from all of the testees. And when you make your packet together to send up to ARRL, you put all the money in there. But yes, you can collect the money however the VE lead is able to collect the money. So I know some people that use Zelle. I know some people that use PayPal. You can mail a check if you register far enough in advance, so you have the check. You can take a credit card. ARRL now is starting to set up an ability to do electronic funds transfer from different VEs. So you can directly send the money up to the ARRL electronically, and then they have the money. So there's all kinds of different ways you can do it. You can take cash if you want to, if there's some way to get the cash nowadays before the exam is taken.
Cash, what's that? Okay, we got another question here. Who sends the CSEC or CE to the successful candidate?
You can email by the VE team, and the original goes to ARRL headquarters.
Okay, so who actually sends that?
It can be emailed by the VE team.
Okay,
You
fine
have
enough.
a PDF of it, and you can just email it to the candidate, and then they have it. I mean, the CSCE was good years ago, a month sometimes or more to get your exams. So this way the candidate, especially if it's an upgrade, could go ahead and operate on the air with the CSCE is a proof of exam license, or the ability with the electronic exams now and with the electronic data being, you're going to be getting your call sign within a day or two. So the CSCE is essentially a dinosaur, because you're going to have your call sign and then the CSCE is invalid unless you want to take an upgrade exam, and then you have your call sign already and you have a printout of your license. So the CSCE taking the place of a license makes it kind of, like I said, it's a dinosaur, but they still do it because they have to do it.
Okay, last text questions here in chat is, can this system accommodate the blind and other disabled people?
Yes, you questions and the answers to someone that's blind, or you can actually, because you're going to be able to talk to them And if you read them the test, they can tell you which A, B, C, or D is the question. And I've seen that done before too. Hearing impaired, there's different ways they actually have the exams where they can generate them in Braille. So the candidate can read the Braille on a Braille reader and tell the candidate and tell the examiners what the answers they want are, and then the VE marks the exam sheet for them. So yes, there are different ways to do different people that have disabilities.
Okay.
Same thing like it would be if it were a live exam.
Okay, makes sense. Is there a fee to use the exam tools? And if you and do you recover the cost of Zoom description, or do you just swallow that cost?
What was the question? You froze.
Oh, I'm sorry. It says, is there a fee for the use of the exam tools, and do you recover the cost of the Zoom subscription, or do you just swallow the cost?
The no charge for exam tools.
Okay, you might point out that you can get a Zoom account for free. You don't have to pay the $79, and but it will give you the account you need.
A free Zoom account, however, is only good for what, 40 minutes? So you would probably have to find someone that has a club that would have a Zoom account to properly use it, I would say.
So each the students has to.
Each student, after the student, if the student, it shouldn't take 40 minutes to take an exam. So the students can probably get away with a Zoom account. It's the VEs that would probably have to have a paid Zoom account.
Okay.
But if they're doing enough exams, they will recoup the fee real quick.
Okay. Well, there's a question on the bottom here in allowing remote sessions. The last time I checked, they were absolutely they would not allow remote sessions. I'm misreading that somehow. Do you see it there, Barry? Bottom?
I don't know, but the FCC 5 or 6 years ago authorized remote sessions. So they are authorized by the FCC. So
Okay.
it is legal to do remote sessions.
Okay, Barry, that question came from me.
Okay.
And my team is ARRL and Laurel.
Okay.
Okay. And my question was, you mentioned the Laurel. Does that mean that Laurel is now going to allow remote sessions? Because last time I talked to them, they said absolutely not.
Laurel is one of the ones that do not allow remote sessions.
That's okay.
ARRL does, GLARG does, W5YI does, and Alaska does, and there's one other VEC that does it. But
Okay.
Laurel has quite adamantly opposed doing remote sessions.
I don't understand it myself, but
A lot of pressure on them to authorize it, but they have their reasons, and I understand why.
Okay. And how do you know the examinee isn't cheating?
You watch them, and you can tell when someone's cheating. Normally, the people are staring right at the screen because they have to read the exam and figure out what the answers are. If they're glancing around or if they're fidgeting or anything, you have to ask them what's going on. And we actually had someone try to cheat once, and he was caught, and his exam was invalidated, and he admitted that he was cheating. And next time he took the exam, he was straight as an arrow, and he didn't cheat, and he still didn't pass. Yeah, there are people that will try. You look before the exam, you look around, and you're sure that all of your remote monitors, all your electronic devices are out of the way, and there's nothing except a blank piece of paper, which you can use and write on to figure out formulas and stuff. But then you have to show the team afterwards what you have on there. So yeah, you can tell when someone's cheating, and people have been trying to cheat, but with a remote monitor and a team that knows what they're doing, you won't be able to get away with it.
Okay.
I mean, I've even seen people try to cheat in in-person exams. So it does have.
People are people, where you go. While taking the test, can the student go back and change the answer to a previously answered question?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why when they're done, you ask them, are you happy with all of your answers? And if there's anything you want to change, go back and change it now, because once they say that they're happy and they click grade exam, they can't change them after that.
Okay.
But yes, they can. If they can go through the whole thing quickly and then go to the ones they skipped and then go over it again. If they want to change their exam answers, they can change any answer they want to. Until they say, yes, they're done, and then you grade the exam. Once that's done, you can't change your answers anymore.
Okay. I don't see any more questions in chat. I don't see any more hands up. So we'll open it up a little bit here. Anybody got anything they want to throw out there for a comment?
This is Eric, KC3GDV. Just another quick question. Has anyone ever tried to use this for in-person testing, but have it where like they would have laptops set up like on a network, and then it would all be electronically graded?
There are a whole bunch of teams that are doing that. They actually use tablets instead of computers, and it'll run on any tablet. It runs very nicely on an Amazon tablet, on a Kindle. And as long as there's a wireless connection to the internet, I've seen, yes, they can do it in person. And there are a whole bunch of teams that are doing it nationwide, doing just that. They bring like 12 tablets to their exam session, and obviously they can only do 12 at a time, but yes, it's being done. And you can actually you can still use this software with pencil and paper. They have what's called bubble sheets, where it's a little bubble like you do with a ballot, and you fill in the bubbles. And then the exam tool software, you hold the bubble sheet up to the camera, and the exam tool software will grade the bubble sheet. So you don't have to use a template anymore. And this way you can have, again, the advantages of having the multiple exams that are not duplicatable. Like the ARRL, you have 4 exams that last 4 years. If you take your exams enough, you see the same exam. We have a hand up again.
We certainly do. Don, go ahead and take it.
Yes, this is Don W0AF. A question, I got in late because of another Zoom meeting, previous Zoom meeting. Can you somehow get a list out to us what software we need to do the remote testing?
It's called examtools.org or hamstudy.org, both of them.
You need both of those?
One of them is to register your sessions and sign up for sessions, and the ham study is where people can go and study for their tests.
Okay.
Exam tools is the software where the VEs use to administer the exams and the candidates go to take the test. Ham study,
okay, thank you.
Ham study is only used to register for the exams and to study.
Okay, thank you.
Barry, is there a place that's got a step-by-step cheat sheet for somebody that's just starting out trying to do this, say a rural community, or something like that they could go through something like you're doing there and know that they have to get this and that and that and do this before it all works?
Yes, there's a checklist procedure that I have. If anyone is interested, just have them email me, KB1PA@ARRL.org, and I will send it out.
Okay, and is there anywhere else? Does the league have anything like that?
Well, the stuff that I get is from the league.
Okay.
I work very closely to get this done.
Okay, you might, when we're done here, send me those links and I'll put it in the follow-up and
Okay.
everybody can have that.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay. Are there anything else? Anybody like to comment or questions?
And the different VEs have different procedures. I know that the Alaska VE requires an in-person proctor, but that's because they are so remote and they have arrangements made with their local constabulary or local churches or synagogues where a pastor can become a physical proctor, and they require a physical proctor even during the COVID times. So they actually physically see and watch the candidate. And pastors and police officers and sheriffs are usually well enough to know, and they're observant enough to see and can tell if someone's going to be cheating. But each VE has different procedures.
Okay. Are there anything else? And he says a great presentation. I don't see any more questions in the chat, and I don't see more hands up. So we'll open it up again.
There's a lot of people have had a lot of questions about this. It's very reliable. It's almost impossible to cheat. And it mimics doing an in-person exam, except you don't have to travel to an in-person exam place to get the test. So I think for a lot of people, it's a lot more convenient. Obviously, if you're going to be doing it through an exam cram weekend, the exam cram team can even use this software if they wanted to give exams instead of the 4 standard ARRL tests that the ARRL VEs usually have. So it makes it a little bit harder for the candidates because they have to study a lot more.
Okay.
Well, Barry, this is Jim, and I want to thank you for your excellent presentation.
Thank you. I tried.
I can't wait to get your home computer there too.
Okay. Are there any other comments or suggestions or questions or whatever?
I want to thank everybody for coming. It was a real pleasure. And if you have any questions, contact me. I'll be more than happy to discuss it with you.
Okay. Well, unless we have something more, I'm going to close it out for the night, and I'll have a follow-up with the video, and Barry's going to send the links and such, so you'll get those in the follow-up. And if you got any questions, Barry will have I'll have his email address in the follow-up as well. So just, there'll be plenty of places to ask your questions and get your answers.
Thank you all again.
Good job.
Thank you, Gary. 73.
Good job. 73.
73s, everyone.